Okay, my friends, this is going to be a trip. They claim today, they just released this world's oldest known human footprint identified in South Africa. I have feet, and not one, I have lots of them. That's where the tibia, the big bone, came down. The fibula sits on the side, and they fall right off because they're only held in by some tendons. This like has a built-in sole or whatnot. I call them no toes. We have lots of these. I have a footprint, which this is what they're calling a footprint. Well, maybe I don't know, but and they're saying it goes back 153,000 years, somewhere down here. Anyway, they say it goes back 153,000 years. Well, that's fine. But I have a footprint that is in the Triassic rock. And you say, well, Roger, how could you prove it was Triassic rock? I'm glad you asked. The reason is because Triassic rock is a red bed, a gray clay, and a black cap. Triassic. Red bed, gray clay, black cap. Sometimes it's green, but there's 3 layers, and it's worldwide. And they discovered it in Germany, but it's been found everywhere in the world, these layers. Now, some are a little different here and there because of the way they settled out, but it was a settling process of these 3 layers of things. And I know what those 3 layers represent. I can fully articulate it, and because this all happened, created my mud fossils. Even like Caesar here, my goose, Caesar Augustus. He's just feathers, shown them a million times, flat as a pancake on one side. They all are like that. My DNA tested stuff is the same. It's all flat, and then they all turned into stone. Now this one here is a bone, and it broke off from it could have been a long bone. I don't know what it went to, but that's a bone head, and they turn into mud fossils. I discovered these 15 years ago, and I've been investigating them ever since. I know the process. I know what happens. I know the feldspar, and I understand why that feldspar turned into the coating that wraps everything, because it's membranes, and membranes have a certain chemistry. Anyway, we're going to go through all this stuff, but I'm going to show you my footprint. Remember this footprint. Wait till I show you the one I have. And I'm right down the street from Dinosaur State Park. Hold on a second, because they have the same stuff, only have little chicken scratches. Watch this. All right, I'm right down the street from Dinosaur State Park, literally the next town over. Now, this is in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, and it's got the largest dinosaur track sites in North America. And there are little scraps of these kind of things here. They did it in the mud. Mine was the same. I had mud here too, but I had a guy that was running through the mud and pushed the layers through, and they separated the red and the gray and the black. And there's no question, it all happened on the exact same time because they were all wet at the same time. And I'll show you that. Don't forget now, they're right down the street from me. And this is a big find. I'm right in central Connecticut here. Now, my property is special, very special. Theirs is pretty special, but not special like mine. So, okay, my friends, I am going to show you something that should shock you to your core. Like I showed you, we have no toes, and that is where the tibia, the main bone, comes down. You can see it flawlessly. It has the architecture of an arch, and on the bottom it has a similar sort of thing, but not like the balls of our feet. Now, I have a footprint here that came right from the area where Dinosaur State Park is. It's the same dirt, basically, the same mud. You see this mud here? Basically, it was the same mud. And this guy stepped in that mud and left a footprint. But not only that, I could tell it was the Triassic period. You say, oh, Roger, how could you tell that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because the reason I can tell that is because of the 3 layers. You see this? Succession of 3 distinct rock layers. And it was red bed, gray clay, black cap. That was primarily the ones. There's different variations here and there, but there's always these 3 layers. Sometimes some of them are sandy, some of them are really muddy, but there's the 3 layers. And the first layer they call the red bed, then the clay layer, and sometimes it's green, gray, or it's different colored clays. And then the black cap. Can I explain those 3 layers? Absolutely. I will do it right now. And I will show you mine, and I will show you a footprint that supposedly, if I'm correct, goes back to the Triassic era, which is 200 million years ago, according to these people. Let me show you what they claim. Well, I'll show you what I claim, and then let's see what they claim. Okay, don't forget, 3 layers, 3 successive layers, distinct. There's a gray clay, which is in the middle of a red bed, and a black cap. So you have a red bed, gray clay, and then a black cap. Or there's clay in between. Now, this is my representation of that event. Why would those 3 layers come here? Oh, this is the red bed. Then we have, I'll use brown because I didn't have any gray, so we have gray clay, brown clay, and then we have a black cap. Well, this is the black cap, and it is on top of this. Now, what I have is a footprint where the guy stepped on this and pushed it down through the red bed. So let me redesign my drawing, and then I will show you the layering of what I have that proves beyond a shadow of doubt that my footprint was laid down during the Triassic instant, because all of these things were wet at the exact same time. Inside of here is exactly the balls of your feet. This was stepped through the red bed, pushed the gray clay. You see it down here? The gray clay was pushed down through this red bed. And that is the balls of your feet. I mean, I'm not kidding you. They are exactly the balls of your feet. This is no question, this is a footprint. And this was stepped through when all these 3 layers were wet. There's no question they were wet. This was wet, and it pushed down through the wet red bed and went all the way through it. And then the black cap molded right on top of here before this had even the I call them suck-ups. I'll show you. This didn't erode at all. This was put on top of there instantly. All 3 of these things happened, and I know exactly why. Because the red bed is nothing more than muddy flesh from the creatures that drowned in the Great Flood and were literally boiled. And then the gray clay is just another layer of density of the clay of the body. And then the black cap was the fallout of all the stuff that was combusted in the atmosphere, because this was when Venus almost hit Earth. Worldwide, it's been confirmed by Yale, by everybody. So this was a worldwide flood, created all my mud fossils. And look at that. Isn't that something? I put my foot in here, and I can't hardly tell. I got about a size 10 foot, and it fits in here just absolutely flawlessly. And the bottom, don't forget, there's your gray clay that came through the bottom. The red bed is gone. The red bed was right here. It was right, should have been right across here, red bed. No, now it's gray clay. See the gray clay? That layer was up here. The guy ran like crazy through there and pushed it down through. So all this had to be, there's absolutely zero question, these had to be wet at the same time. No doubt whatsoever. And the black cap and the gray clay. So what do we got? We got a red bed, should be right to here. Then we should have had some gray clay. Well, what happened to the gray clay? It got pushed down through the bottom. There it is right there. Now, what about above that? The black cap started to land. We had some gray clay. You see it? Only some collected deep down in here. And then after that, you went into the black cap, which is the fallout of all of the combusted things that were in the atmosphere, the burned things. settled down on top. That's what the black cap is. So there's your 3 layers. All right, and here's what really happened. This guy, there was no black cap on here now. Well, the guy comes running. He's running like crazy to get away. He goes bloop, and he pushes down. He pushes this layer, which was brown, down to here. So now he just keeps on going. So now we got a spot right here, empty. Then the black stuff starts coming in and rolling all over the top of the brown. And it fills in, and there's some of it still right in the toes, but that's the only spot. And then the black cap laid right on top, which was very heavy, thick. So that accounts for the Triassic. It accounts for a human footprint, and I would say that's every bit. I mean, if it's mine, it's exactly like mine. And then we have no toes, which I don't think are human. This one's more human than the stuff I've got. Well, I mean, the no toes I've got are not. Well, you saw what they look like. They're a little. They're different. It's not going to make this kind of an impression. Now, you see these little dimples here? I'm going to show you that in a microscope. Those are suck-ups. And on the edge, you don't have them because there's no because that's why it was wet and it's slurpy. And he hit it and it went. Well, you don't get a over here. You get a in the middle. All right, because it's going. This is no suction. Here's the suction, and we got these suck-ups. I mean, it is what it is. All right, you see that? That's the microscope. I'm looking down at the suck-ups. And here they are up in the screen for the microscope. Now, you see you see those little dimply-looking things in there? It was flat like a Slurpee. And he hit it, and he went. The air pulled up these suck-ups. Now, I'm going to move to the edge. Now, don't forget, here we are at the center-ish area, straight down to here. All right, now, you see where my finger is right there? See it up there? All right, now, I'm going to move this over to about here. All right, so now I'm going to move this over. So now I am right on top of my fingerprint, which is right, or my finger, which is right here on the edge. And I'm going to show you up here, there is no suck-ups. You see, that's the edge of the footprint. And there won't be any suck-ups until you start to get in a little further. So I'm going to move it in. Still none, still none. On the edge, there's no suction. Now you start to get into where the suck-up starts. See it? Outside of here, let me put a little water on here to make sure that we can see all the detail. You can see just a little bit of suck-ups up here, just a taste. When you put water on things, it really makes a big difference. All right, let me dry it up a little bit. Now, you can see a little bit of suck-ups on the edge. See, I was over there with my finger. There's virtually none right at the very edge, see? Very, very, very little. But there is some. See, I tell you, the water makes a huge difference. Now, once you get into the inner core, look at it here. This is just riddled with suck-ups. And the further you get in, the sucker up they get. So, anyway, there's no question what it is. That's just a novelty. Okay, this is how I found this setup. This was a flat, and this chunk was laying on there. Now, that is mated right up to the footprint, and this was capped over the top. Now you can see over here. All right, same thing there. Now, I'm going to assemble this so you can see exactly how it's formed. All right, I'm going to take the black cap off. It might rock and that might fall off. We'll find out in a second. All right, here we go. Now, again, black cap. The black cap is there. And it works its way down and lays on the red bed below, way down below. All right, so here comes the black cap. Off. This sucker weighs a lot. All right. Now, what do we have left? we have the footprint, and we have the red bed, which was stepped through, and the gray clay, which was in between. Now the gray clay that was on top of here, I don't know, I got what I got. But there would have been another layer of gray clay that came up to the black, which was somewhere up in this area. Now, the red bed is at the bottom. It's at the bottom. This is gray clay here. See the gray clay? There was only a slip of goop on the top of this, and that's all those suck-ups I just showed you. Now, when he stepped on that gray clay, which is this thick, that gray clay is that thick. Because here it is here. And here it is at the bottom. So the whole thing was pushed down, because here it is at the top, and here it is at the bottom. So this was literally gray clay, and pushed down through the red bed, so it's flat with the red bed. Then the black cap came. Now, again, this is not the only footprint. I mean, I have so much to do with it. Everybody had feet. Almost everybody, it seems, had feet. And these are the balls of the feet. I'm telling you, this is just absolutely, it's basically a human foot, as far as I can determine. Now, my other ones, the no-toes, like these here, those aren't human feet. Those are raw, I don't know what. But they have their toes built into them. See, this is mine here. I have this Tishy Earthen's got these, and she's got a whole batch of them, and she sent me some of these. Like I have this one here, which is springs inside of the foot. These don't have bones. This is like our feet have bones. These don't. You see, the heel is the same. See the heel? The strap coming up, the heel, strap coming up. Yes, that's the same. But it's not even close. These are bones, these are springs, and the ones, it's the two torsion springs. I've shown this many times. This one lifts and pulls at the same time. It pulls that one, so you got dip, dip, and it just automatically drops back down. It's a spring-loaded mechanism. All right, we have tendons to do that job. They had springs. Okay, I got to be honest with you. I got caught up in a whole bunch of things, and I'm returning to this. I don't even remember where it was, but I'm going to wrap it up. I talked about Dinosaur State Park. I'm right down the road, and they have the same sort of mud, but they didn't have a black cap on top. I show a human footprint pressed through. I know I showed you all this stuff. So that's where I remember showing you all this stuff. And being right down the street from Dinosaur State Park. Now, they declined to examine my specimen, so, and Yale did too. And they're right down the other side. and I did everything they asked to have done. I had CAT scans, DNA specimen stuff, all done for my mud fossils, which are the soft body tissue creatures that preserved in the Great Flood. And that now has been authenticated by Yale. About a year later, after I finally just gave up on them, they put a paper out saying that soft body perfect preservation in this one layer worldwide, which is precisely what I said. So anyway, this is, you know, it's not right that they won't examine something that changes a lot, a real lot. All right, I know I showed you the article about somewhere in South Africa, the world's oldest human footprint. Well, this one they're saying goes back 50,000 years or so, or I think they say 153,000, wherever it is. It's in here somewhere. Even 153,000, that's nothing. If I'm in the Triassic era, that's hundreds of millions of years ago, is what they say. I totally disagree. Now, we have tons of these no toes. We got a lot of them, not just one or two, and they come big, they come small. This one here is about human size, and the ones that Tish found are pretty much human size too. But I mean, I have other body parts, you know, big feet and toes and all kinds of things. So, hands, they were big, they were middle sized, they were small. I don't know what to say. It's a whole new world, my friends, and if you can't even examine it, then that's your issue, not mine. All right, if you can see this, you see that big bone right there? And there was another one over here. You see this moss growing out of there? This has been sitting in my shop for years. And it still has no moss growing because there's red blood in there. You see right down here? This is where the toes came apart. This is a no-toe. That's where the bone came down from above. And they slant off like this. I'm going to show you some other ones that are very eroded. But you see, this is where the toes were, but they're not toes. They're something else, like... Now this died laying outside like this. And that protected the fibula from falling off. You see this? Look at this carefully. All right, look very carefully because you can see it in the shadows. There was an attachment right there with the tendon, attachment right back there, and this was where the fibula came down. You see, this chunk would have came right off just like it did on mine. You see, but it was laying on this side. So the fibula, which is this attachment right here, held and didn't let this fall off. So we have the big bone and we have the fibula. This one here, the fibula is gone, totally gone. Tibia is still here. Well, where it was. And of course, this is where the blood supply was for this. This is not this type of a foot. And some of these here are not the same as the others. Now, I showed you the footprint. I know I did, because it was all about that, basically. That footprint is identical to mine, virtually identical to my foot. I put my heel in there, it gets right in there. The balls of my feet are in here, it's identical. And I know I showed you exactly how it was formed. Like, there's no other possibility, none, zero. Remember I said these come off to the side? This is Tish Egerton, is somebody I work with, and she sent me some of her stuff, and it's just incredible. I mean, so is mine, but hers is a condition of erosion that we can see inside of them. These are some kind of tendonish things coming down. The toes are built in, and they tip off to the side like that. That's where the fibula would have come down. The tibia is right there, you see it? But this is highly eroded. Now let me show you one that's all the way down into the springs. Hold on one second. All right, this is one of Tish's feet, and it's down into the springs, and I believe mine have springs too. You see in here, these little, that curve there, can you see there? Yeah. And you see that little dot right there? I believe that's the pin, and then there's some kind of a spring that goes around it that makes the foot rock. There's blood in there. This is all from blood. And that little red spot there, that's from, whenever you see this kind of a texture, that's where there was a lot of blood. And it washed out and left the fabric, but the blood left. The black is the vein blood, and that's artery blood that ran all over the place. And this is the, it looks even like it's got a sole to the foot, but I mean, I can't imagine that. It is not a, it's not a shoe. You see this here? This is how your body tissues invest with each other. See that flap coming around, laying over there, and it locked right in there. Same thing with here. They come around and they lock in and they glue together, basically. Now this has toes in it. You know, this is a little bit broken off here. You can see where the toes are, but I don't think they ever came out of this leather, which is outside of the guy's foot. I mean, that's bleeding right through there. Just think about it. Just take your time to think about this. There's the guy's bone right there where it was. This, when I look at it in a microscope, it is leather. Okay, it's absolutely identical to leather. Now, is it a guy's foot leather or is it a shoe leather? Well, this is blood. That's the blood supply of a foot. I would say this is the outside of the guy's foot. I mean, he bled right through his foot here. That's all I can take away from this. That's all I can say. But it's nothing like you see at Dinosaur State Park, and they, you know, not interested. This is right down the street. This is found right here on my property, right down the street from Dinosaur State Park. So was Caesar Augustus. There's his feathers. You know, I mean, I understand the process now intimately. It's all nucleophilic substitution, and I understand the chemistry. I understand everything about it. And we have so many specimens, you can't disregard that. How can you just say, oh, that's nothing? That's something. That's not nothing. That ain't nothing, as they used to say. And this here ain't nothing either. That's another one of tissues. Look at this. This looks like a wing nut. And it held like, you know, this is the bottom of my foot. All right, basically, it's the same sort of thing. This looks like it had a wing nut, too. What do you say about this stuff? What do you see some of the other things? I mean, this is mind-blowing stuff. And to have it disregarded in this manner for this many years, it's stunning to me. Absolutely stunning. So this is another one of tissues. Well, I showed you that one. And this one here is another one. Now, I have that here, and I've examined it very closely. And it is spring-loaded, and that right there is the heel. You see it right here? And that little strap is this strap right here. It would have led to the bone, which is the tibia, which would have sat right in this cradle. You see the angle it going up? Bang, it would have grabbed right a hold of that bone right here. And that way you could walk, and it would keep your tendon, your tendon would keep your heel tugged up to your foot. Now, these two here, that's a whole different issue, my friends. It's just literally amazing. This is an engineered system, and it used the heel, but nothing else. I think I know what happened. They had a whole bunch of spare parts laying around. Look at this stuff. This is mind-freaky stuff. They must have had some spare parts there. So see if you could hook up that heel to some of these springy things we got laying around. So they did that. All right, so what happened? They took a heel from one guy and his tendon strap, and they said, manufacture something that'll give him a little spring to his step. So they made these two springs to interlock together. I'll show you how they work. And they mated that heel up to this device. Then they made a bone for a leg. I have a complete leg, and actually Tish sent me that too. Now, what are we looking at here? We are looking at this right here. There's no toes are out there, but they're still flexible. They hit the toe, it pushes this up. What happens? This rocks around on its pin. It can't just go backwards. It has to rock. What happens then? This is glued to that. You can't really see it here, I don't think. No, but they're attached together. So when this goes up, that has to go with it. So this goes back, that goes back. What happens to this? This one here, when it goes back, it rocks with it because it's attached to it. It can't just go back by itself. So it goes this way. And what does it do? It's got a tab on here that has a little cable. It runs right up to this little cable right here and that tab. So this comes in. This one puts a spring to it because this opens up a little bit with the spring action. And then that goes back and pulls at a certain point. This one here starts to pull this tab. The tab pulls this in with this cavity. And it goes right into that cavity. So now this one is loaded up. So you got one loaded, and it hits its limit, and then this loads. So you got dit, and when you come back down, it dit, all by itself. You're like walking on springs. Very cool. And obviously that has to pivot on this pin. And this one back here looks like it has something else too. So very similar to these tabs. But it's too eroded to do much with that. But this here is the tendon strap. And you see this right here? Let me see if I can home in on that for you. You see what you're looking at right there? This is flat, nice and flat. That tendon is just flat. That's all crunchy looking, wriggly looking. Well, when a tendon snaps, it creates a wrinkle zone, and that's the wrinkle zone. Tendons are under tension. You just cut them, it goes boing, it snaps down to here. At a certain point, it stops, the wrinkle. And that's it. And you look at a lot of these things they call giant trees and stuff. At the top of them, you're going to see a wrinkle zone because they're tendons. I know this is just very, very hard for most people to understand. But trust me, I've done this. And all you got to do is look at it. All I want to do is engage. And I'm refused to because I have much too much evidence. Much too much. It makes everything they say silly now. I mean, really, literally clownish at this point. What else can I say? It's just a fact. When they won't do their job and listen and look and ask questions. And I just had another one. He's supposed to be a religious guy. I said, hey, if you're religious, I'm going to show you some stuff that maybe back you up. No, I don't want to even see it. He didn't want to see it. I did force him to see it. He spent 20 minutes on the phone with me, and then he watched a video in 20 minutes. He still sent back. He says, I have I don't know anything about this. I'm serious. And he's supposed to be a religious guy looking for the origin of life. He's never going to find anything. He doesn't want the origin of anything. He wants to spout off something. And I don't know what his game is, but it's all I can see is there's no competence. Looking for the origin of life, doesn't want to look into what I'm showing. Oh, no, that's not for me. Not for me. My mind is just, I don't know what his mind is, but it's not good. And there are not a single academic. I haven't had one academic in 15 years ask me one single question. And I am not kidding you. Not a single question. How did that happen? How did this happen? What did this do? Why did you say this? No. Total silence or you're an idiot. One or the other. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with that. That's plenty. I mean, I can't, how many times am I going to do this? But look at this thing. This freaked me out big time. What the hell is going on there? Look at these things. And I don't even remember where I got this. I think maybe Tish has this. I'm not sure. But yikes. I get so much stuff that is just stunning. And I mean, I'm just loaded with it now. I have so much I don't even know what to do. And it's stuff that nobody will look at. Nobody in academia or anybody that claims to be an authority or a scholar or any of that, expert whatsoever. Nope, won't look at that. Because they have no answers. And that takes away from their status. And everything I can see now is self-interest. If it doesn't help me or promote my status, stay away. And I agree, this is a shocker. Everything I present is a shocker. I mean, I call it shocker du jour, but I could go on for a millennia with shockers, which I will do very soon. But don't forget, this all started out with the oldest footprint there is. It's supposed to be 200 to 250 million years old if it's Triassic rock, and I am quite sure that I should have convinced you that it is. Worldwide, three layers, there they are. Two of them pushed together, and the third one just landed on top, because this is the combustion of the atmosphere and all the burning and everything. After the Great Flood and all the catastrophe, there was fires and combustion in the air, and this is the product of it. Black, coaly-looking stuff landing on top of these mud flows, which were part of the flood. And there was people running for their lives. And those little chicken scratches they show up at Dinosaur State Park, I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. You're going to freak you out. You're going to laugh like hell. Because it is hilarious.